hello YouTube, Louie here, and welcome to the weekend. We all made it through this turbulent week. A lot going on, a lot of rhetoric in the markets, and some big drops in silver and gold prices, more in silver than gold actually. In front of you here is the silver chart. This is a 3-month chart, and it is showing the current price at 1748 or 1752, something like that. We took a pretty sizable drop here over the last week or so from a high of 1962 on September 4th down to the 1752. So that is a $2 drop in a week or two. So yes, so here we are back at the entry, starting to get into a new entry point. If you are looking for a place to enter, then I'm looking more around 17 or the high 16s. I did place an order on Friday to start averaging in during this drop. Yes, I am buying back my paper positions, but I hope to get the majority of those down closer to 17, and then look for the move back up. If that takes a couple weeks to accumulate, that position, that's fine with me. I noticed that platinum did not drop off as much. Looking for hopefully a big drop in platinum so I can re-enter that paper position. And also gold, which hasn't dropped back that much compared to silver. The focus of this podcast will be silver. So let's just go ahead and see what's up. Like I said, this market does not scare me. The pullback does not surprise me. $20 is a substantial resistance zone. And we may take another stab at it. We may take a couple more stabs at it. But who knows if that will take a month or a year, but I do believe we'll break 20 eventually. So that's why I want to rebuild my paper positions in the SLV. Now I don't want to wait. I do have the physical stack is intact, and I don't need to add to that at the moment. But I wouldn't hesitate to be buying physical here in the 17s or the high 16s. Going back to a 5-year chart. You can see where we are. You can see why 20 represents a substantial resistance here to get through. So, I'm not losing faith at all. And many of you said you wanted a pullback so you could buy more. I think when people come out and start whining about how the trend is broken and so forth, they're forgetting. There are two things I think that are important. There's a time to play the momentum, which I like to do with the paper market. I don't do that with my physical stack. But there's a time to recognize momentum and blow-offs and whatnot and utilize charting techniques. And there is a time to throw this chart away and all of your stops and all of your averages and your technical indicators and just buy. All right? If you are just looking for the charts to tell you when to get in, then you probably missed, let me go back out 5 years. All right. If you were looking for charts to tell you when to get into the silver market, when silver was ranging between 13 something and 15 something, it would have never told you to get in. All right. So there's a point where your common sense takes over. All right. And you say, we are in an accumulation zone. And then there's a point where you start reviewing the charts because big things are happening and you're playing the momentum if you choose to do so. If you just choose to sit with your stack, that's fine too. But, a move from 15 to 20 warrants a little selling when you get towards the top. A move back to 17, say 17 even, warrants considering buying again. I don't believe we're going to get back into the 14s. I don't even think we'll hit the 15s. And I don't expect to break, much below the high 16s. Personally, just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. So how can I make the case that you should be accumulating again down here around 17 instead of fearing that we are heading for a new downturn, just like we were back here? Like, what is different, you say, right? Here we go. A lot of people were buying at 20, 19, 18, 17, and it didn't bottom till around 16, and then ultimately back down around 14. That was a painful period, but over the course of your lifetime, and with a percentage of your assets, never all of your assets, I recommend 10%. And when I say that, I mean 10% of everything you own, not just 10% of the cash in the bank, or I would exclude your personal residence from that. But if you have a home, put that aside. And if you have $100,000 in stocks, bonds, cash, etc., I would consider $10,000 in silver, gold, maybe platinum. That's how I do it. When the market moves down $1 or $2, I don't mind. When the market moves up $1, $2, $3, or $5, I move out of my paper positions, but I keep my physical stack for the long term. Okay, so someone had mentioned recently, that Big Mac index is really interesting. Hold on one second. All right, here's the chart I showed in my last video about CPI, a Big Mac priced according to the CPI as reported by the government, the lie, and a Big Mac, the Big Mac index over time raw. This tracks an average of what Big Macs sell for. This is in the United States. They also track it all over the world if you want to check that out. But as you know, the price of hamburgers has been going up dramatically, and CPI has remained very tame, down around 2%. I choose to believe that the Big Mac is the better representation of what it costs to live. Not that I would live on Big Macs, of course, but, it incorporates food, it incorporates labor, it incorporates rent, insurance, so many things that go into costing a Big Mac that I choose to believe that as an inflation measure. So someone commented recently, gosh, I wish we could see the Big Mac to silver index. Okay, so I thought we would do that. So I went back and I was able to obtain raw data going back to the year 2000. Hold on. All right, so here we are with the Big Mac index, the cost of a Big Mac over time over the last 20 years. Do you remember a $2 Big Mac? I do. Okay. And at the time, nobody ever even contemplated that a hamburger would be selling for $6, but it's pushing $6 right now. Again, this is an average. I know in some cities it's lower, in some cities it's higher, but you'll have to trust that the Big Mac index is calculated fairly and consistently. In the year 2000, a Big Mac was selling for $2.51. The current date, September of 2019, I did a little estimation here. The last fixed date was July. So I just put the cost of a Big Mac at about $5.85 today. What does an ounce of silver cost today? $17.52. What did an ounce of silver cost in the year 2000? $5.12. So while a Big Mac has gone from $2.51 to $5.85, silver has gone from $5 basically up to $17.50 as of today. So I thought we would calculate the silver to Big Mac index. How many Big Macs does an ounce of silver buy? All right, let's get going. All right, you've got it here. In April of the year 2000, you could get 2.04 Big Macs for an ounce of silver. A year later, you could only get 1.74 Big Macs for an ounce of silver. 2 years later, in April of 2003, you could still get 1.75 Big Macs for an ounce of silver. All right, for the sake of time, I have now filled in several more of these. So in June of '05, you could get 1.23 Big Macs. In June of '07, now you can get 3 Big Macs for an ounce of silver.
Going off.
Silver. June of '09, nearly 4 Big Macs. And now, January of 2010, you can get over 5 Big Macs for 1 ounce of silver. Interesting trend. We can also see that silver is moving up during this period. Okay. And so rather rapidly, right? All right, and then it keeps going as silver spikes. Let's see. So in 2010, we had 5.2 Big Macs. Silver is making its big move, right? This is the biggest move of our generation. Then it's gone to $27.73. A Big Mac now costs over $4, but you can buy nearly 7 of them. A couple years later, silver is up at $31.73. Now you can buy over 7 Big Macs with an ounce of silver.
Shot 12 beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles on a sesame seed bun.
Silver. And then the market starts heading back down for silver. So let's see what happens then. All right, and now as silver starts moving back, right, the big blow-off right around 2000, between 2013 and 2015, silver nearly halved, and the number of Big Macs you can buy back to 3.69 in 2017, 2 years later, about 3.5 Big Macs. And then in January of this year, 2019, you can only get 2.86. Same thing in July. And now that we've started rising again, you can get nearly 3 Big Macs for your ounce of silver. So I guess the question is, where are we in these trends? And I'm sorry I can't put up a graph of this. My Mac is not terribly good with Excel. So we can see that we certainly could be a lot higher. We have run as high as 7, an ounce of silver, buying 7 Big Macs, and that seems like that would be a pretty good deal if you like Big Macs. And we have been as low as 1.25. And that, just from a common sense perspective, that seems like a pretty bad deal to trade a full ounce of silver for 1 hamburger. So I think we might throw that one out. And then, of course, everywhere in between. But what is our opportunity here? It seems that for the last few years we have been in this 3-ish range, right? That would seem to be a pretty normal range back in 2007, 2009. We went back into that range after the blow-off in 2015 and stayed around 3 for the longest time. So that would tell me that that seems to be a pretty fair representation of how many Big Macs, an ounce of silver should be able to buy. And so I don't think that we are overvalued here. I don't think that we are headed back to $14 silver, as the cost of everything begins to increase, as a Big Mac becomes $6 and greater, which it will. And we look at the cost of silver, $6 Big Macs, around, if we stay around the 3 level, should predict at least $18 silver, right? And then again, if silver starts to be valued more, or if inflation continues to ride as it has been substantially lately, in my opinion. I mean, look at the escalation. In the last 9 years, we have had nearly a doubling in the price of a Big Mac, and not even close to anything like that in silver. So I would use this to make the argument that around 3 Big Macs to an ounce of silver sounds like a pretty fair valuation to me. and it should only go up from here. If it falls back, I wouldn't expect it to fall back to 1.25. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? So I'm gonna stand on the argument that there is not much downside here for silver, but I do believe there's tremendous upside because as the currency continues to be debased, we'll quickly see a $10 Big Mac. What will you see when a Big Mac is $10? You're going to see $30 silver. Explain to me how the cost... sorry, I was cut off there. I was going to say, explain to me how the cost of everything can keep going up, but silver will not. Silver will go down. All right? I would take that bet any day of the week. All right? And I think inflation is going to pick up here dramatically. I think that is what everyone wants, from the Congress to the president to the entire world, because, the more we devalue the U.S. currency, the more money the world can print, trying to stay in parity with the dollar. Right? So, look for $7, $8, $9, and $10 Big Macs, and look for $20, $25, and $30 silver. Don't get scared out of this market, guys. Let's go back to that silver chart. Here's the silver chart again, and as we have discussed, let me go back to a 5-year. Right. So as we discussed, if you were not in this market over this period of time, let's say, what is that, 2017, 2016 to 2019 before the breakout, if you weren't accumulating down in here, how are you going to go back in time and pick up your $14 and $15 silver now that it is trading at 17 or 17.50, right? And maybe it'll get back to 17. I don't think you should wait for $14 and $15 silver to come back. When people are selling is when you want to be buying your silver. You want to be accumulating. You don't want to be waiting for the charts to tell you to get back in. Yes, of course, when there's a blow-off, you want to wait for the blow-off to subside a little bit. Feel free to do that. But I don't think you have very long. I think, maybe 30 days, and then the investors will come back. Remember when Bitcoin did that? When Bitcoin, blew all the way to the top and came back? People notice when there are 14 to 20, when there are, 40% moves in an asset category. Okay. And that is drawing the investors back in. Again, look for it to settle down here a little bit, but I'm proceeding to buy back into my paper positions. Again, looking for 17 or the high 16s. But don't be scared out when it's cheap. Accumulate. All right, guys, and I'm looking forward to that $30 silver, but not that $10 Big Mac so much. All right. Talk to you later. What do you think? Okay, bye, guys.
Peace.